Yes, us. Welcome to the Kefi Live podcast. My name is Kefi L, and I'll be your guide to creating a life of Ola Kala. All is well. Together, we'll get back to the basics, and we'll explore fresh new ways to flourish in mind, body, and soul the Greek way. You can look forward to interviews, stories, essential self-care strategies, recipes, and actionable takeaway Ola Kala moments. This is going to be so much fun. Let's get going. Πάμε! Our Lexi for today is Epiviosi, or survival. Traveling can get uncomfortable if you're not prepared. And what happens? You could transition into survival mode. How do you avoid Epiviosi and achieve easy? Plan it out. Do a little research. Become acclimated before you arrive at your destination as to avoid that fight or flight mentality and achieve a memory worth making. Eleolado, olive oil, has been celebrated in the civilized world for millennia, nearly eternal. The oil of this fruit has been more than just food to the cultures of the Mediterranean region. It's been medicinal, ceremonial, sacramental, and the foundation of great wealth and power. It is safe to say that olive oil is the ethos, the essence of Greek culinary culture. Today, the priceless and life-giving ingredients of this liquid gold can be delivered to you when you purchase your premium bottle of Kefi Life extra virgin olive oil from the region my parents were born, the Peloponnese. The coveted Koroneiki olive is extensively cultivated here in the southern part of Greece, which offers the unique microclimate needed to grow a fruit netting the utmost nutrient value for extra virgin olive oil. Kefi Life extra virgin olive oil, a boundless amount of value, high in antioxidants with anti-inflammatory properties, linked to good mood and improved mental health. Get your bottle of wellness today when you visit kefilife.shop. Thank you for joining us on Kefi Life, the podcast where we try to harmonize the mind, body, and spirit the Greek way, but it's kind of like a broad scope. We always have the intention of that harmony and feeling good about oneself and the whole person. And part of that for me, Kefi Vale, is adventure. I love adventure. I love travel. I love immersing myself in a new culture. I love to learn. And as a matter of fact, education in a book or in a school is critical, I think, but even more so is to simulate it or to be in the environment. You can just learn so much about yourself. I think that travel can change your life, your energy, your attitude, and reconnect you with purpose. So today we're going to reconnect with a guest, a fabulous guest, Mina Agnos, who is the president and co-founder of Travelive, an award-winning travel agency that has just grown leaps and bounds. She was here before, and today she's going to help us with survival guide to having the best trip, kind of like the tips and the tricks. Mina, welcome back.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be back.
Oh, you were so full of information. You, like our last interview, I just wanted to hop on a plane and get out of here.
I feel like that every day. I totally understand.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of that, we are going to talk today mostly about the survival guide to best tips. But is there someplace, you are well-traveled, but is there someplace you haven't been on the planet that you're just dying to get to?
So I am planning to visit Hong Kong and Thailand in January. And that's a place I've never been. So I'm pretty excited about it. I do compare everything back to Greece. And to date, nothing has come. I mean, Egypt came kind of close in terms of the history and culture. But yeah, that's what I'm excited to do.
Oh, that'll be fun. How long will you be there?
I don't know yet. It's at this point, it's not a firm plan. I'm more of a last minute planner, but it's crystallized in my mind that it's happening.
One place that I've wanted to go and experience are the pyramids in Egypt. Have you been?
Fantastic. I have been, yes. Egypt is one of the destinations that we service. And, everywhere that I travel to, having grown up in Kansas City like you, all of my vacations were to Greece. I never got to go to Disney. I never got to go to Rome until I was an adult and could go there by myself. And I always felt like I was missing something. And when I did get to the point where I was old enough to travel and pay for my own trips and got to go to other places, I always thought, oh, this is amazing, but it's not Greece. And I would say Egypt and the pyramids were kind of the first time where it was like, oh, here, there really is something special here. And this does have something to say next to Greece.
I love it.
So yeah, the pyramids are truly spectacular. Egypt has some really, really incredible sites and some really ancient history like the Greeks do, that is incredible stories. So it's a magical place. It truly is.
And I'm like you, like I'm super partial to Greece, not only because my parents were born and raised there, but really because of all that it offers. Now, today we're going to talk about survival tips with Survival Guide to the Best Trips. But firstly, before we do that, for the folks that missed the first episode, kind of fill us in on your background and what makes you an expert, if you will. Your business, Travelive, tell us a little bit about it.
So I really started as a travel advisor after being a traveler for, quite some time. And I found that I really enjoyed being part of these life-changing experiences for people. I love to travel. I love to meet new people, meet new destinations, and really get to know cultures. And I found that having a career where I get the opportunity to share that with other people it's truly amazing. It's like I never really have to do work. So I've been selling travel since 2001. My business was founded then, and it's been a lot of changes, a lot of traveling, a lot of new destinations, and a lot of fun since then.
And you were educated in New York and in Greece.
Yes. Yes. So I started, I started university in the US, and I ended up going to Greece as a study abroad. And after my first week there, I knew that I wasn't leaving, and I transferred and stayed, and I graduated university in Greece. And during that time, I was traveling the islands. My classes were Tuesdays, Thursdays, so I had long weekends. And in the summers, I would work on islands like Mykonos and just really enjoy life. And then I knew I wanted to be in tourism. I came back to New York City. I got my master's at NYU in tourism, and the rest is history.
So you have some hands-on combined with formal education. Wow, that is packing a lot of punch there. Let's get into this interview about surviving for a trip abroad or any vacation. First of all, let's talk about the approach and the mindset for traveling out of the country. Can you share what you believe we should be thinking?
Yeah, I think that more than anything, patience at this time is really important. There's so many issues with airlines and delays and even still a few lingering COVID policies that we have to deal with. So just being patient and understanding that everybody's working really hard and a lot of companies are very short-staffed. It really, is meaningful to those people who are working so hard to have clients and people coming who are more patient. I think that keeping an open mind in terms of where you're from and where you're going. Sometimes we do see travelers who, believe that it's like the 1950s, where in the US we have refrigerators and everywhere else they don't. And that's truly not the case. I mean, we are in a modern society and a modern culture around the world. And I think that going in with the best intentions and a really open mindset and being open to what comes at you, especially now where there's so much divisiveness, kind of not just in our country, but around the world. So having that openness to other experiences, people, cultures, and mindsets is really important when you're traveling.
Anything you want to say about passports? Anything we should know or remember?
Yes, you should always check your passport before you start travel planning. You want to make sure that your passport is going to be valid for at least 6 months following your travel. I think post-COVID, a lot of people missed this. And we did see several people who kind of on the days before they were traveling realized that their passport was not going to be valid to get them where they needed to go. So always check and make sure that you've got at least 6 months left on your passport. And if not, even, several months prior, start that renewal process.
When we're traveling abroad or anywhere for that matter, mostly abroad, what are some things that people need to consider or know before, about booking ahead of time?
I think it's really important to have your services planned ahead of time. I don't think there's anything worse. I think here we've gotten really accustomed to using things like Uber and having access to stuff really easily on our phone. And it's not always as readily available when you're traveling in other countries. There is Uber around the world, but sometimes it's not available in certain areas around the world. So you want to make sure you have things like transfers set up to get you to your hotels. If you're looking for guides, set that up beforehand because you're not going to find the best options once you get there. You're going to be using what's left. So having as much planned ahead of time is going to be the best way to travel. And, even thinking about things like restaurant reservations, beach club, spa reservations, working with an agent or, somebody who can help you accommodate all those things. And, you don't need to do the research. People are there and they are specialists in these places and they can certainly help you with it. So, TripAdvisor is not always your best friend because you don't know who's reviewing these things. So working with somebody who, lives, works, operates in those destinations is definitely going to give you a better advantage over people who are trying to do the DIY.
Well, that's what I admire about Travelive is that your brands, because it says travel to Greece, travel to Croatia, travel to Italy, that you mentioned in the previous interview, that those are experts or people from those countries that actually have a lay of the land.
Exactly. Exactly. And, we work with clients and travel agents across the US. So, there's so many resources available. And I think that, especially as people are more comfortable doing a lot of things on their own, a lot of times travel agents kind of don't get the respect that they deserve. But truly, we're in a business where we are a service professional, the same way that, you go to your hairstylist and you don't try to do your hair by yourself, or, you don't try to do the work that your lawyer does on your own. I mean, we truly are specialists and experts in our fields and can offer something that's really going to be unique and special for you.
Previously, you were talking about the language. So like, let's say somebody was to go to China. I think Chinese would be kind of hard to learn. What would you guide us or advise us about that, that difference in traveling there and not knowing the language?
I think that learning phrases in the language of the country you're visiting is a really meaningful thing to do. I think that people who you interact with are going to find that it's really meaningful for them that you made a little bit of an effort. In a lot of countries, English is spoken as a second language on a very good level. I mean, in Greece, kids start from second grade mandatory, and they can't graduate high school without speaking a good level of English. And you'll find many of them do speak as well as we do. So it's really nice. But, in other places, they don't. And especially if you're going somewhere a little more off the radar. So you do have tools like Google Translate and different kinds of apps. But certainly whenever you're traveling, learn a few phrases. I think it really will make a difference for you.
Gosh, that is really helpful to know. My husband and I are getting ready to take a trip to Israel. So I think I'm going to... Yeah, I think I'm going to learn a few phrases. I know shalom.
Yes, shalom is good. L'chaim, yamas.
Ooh, look at you. Oh my gosh.
I think you can get by with those 2 words.
That's great. I'm going to have to learn it. Because you do show an element of respect when you have attempted something in the culture of the country you're visiting. Oh my God, that's delightful. Okay, let's discuss currency and payments overseas.
Okay. We are a very connected society now. I know it used to be traveler checks and going to your bank and getting a lot of currency. You don't need to do that anymore. I think that the most important thing that you need to consider when traveling is to talk to your bank and make sure that your ATM card works overseas, that your credit cards work overseas, and that you're not going to be charged international fees. And if you are, you need to work with them to ensure that that's not going to be the case on this trip, or to get the right credit card that's going to work for you. So some cards or some banks might charge 3% just because you're abroad, and that can get very pricey. So that's, I think, my biggest tip. When you do want to exchange some money, I think when you arrive in a country, just $50, $100 so that you have enough for tipping is ideal. And then whenever you need cash, ATMs are the best way to exchange money. You're going to get the best rate there as long as your bank's not charging you big fees for that. And in doing so, you never need to carry large amounts of cash. And then when using ATMs, I would just say use international banks or use that country's national bank. So, don't go to any just ATM that, is something that's set up on the street. Use an HSBC, a Citibank, or, a national bank of whatever country you're visiting, so that that, you're not going to have any issues going forward.
Okay, here's a challenge I always have. Some people have it, some people don't. The smart people don't have this problem. Packing and how to dress. I always overpack. I end up wearing a fourth of what I pack.
Yes.
So what could you tell us about that?
Okay, so you lay everything out, you cut it in half, you do it again, and you cut that in half.
Whoa!
Yeah, that's what you do. And I think that if you can, and you probably can, travel with a carry-on, then do it, because it's going to save you a lot of time and energy when it comes to things like lost luggage and waiting for luggage. Full disclosure, I do not travel with a carry-on, but I admire people very much that do. That do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's really important to kind of consider where you're going. What are you doing? If you've got your itinerary and your services pre-planned, you know what you're going to be doing for the most part. I mean, I think things will pop up. But, a lot of times when you're overseas, you're never going to need a heel that doesn't have a flat bottom, ever, never. So take all of those out. You should be able to get through a trip. And I say this, and I maybe believe it, and I maybe don't. You're never going to need more than 3 pairs of shoes.
Uh-oh.
You can use more than 3, but you don't need more than 3.
Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Wake up call.
Exactly. And I think non-slip bottoms are really, really important in a lot of places too. So even consider it with, your sneakers when you're touring, or especially in places like Greece or in Egypt, where you have a lot of like the stone and the marble. Those are not, it's very slippery, and sneakers are not always the ideal shoe for something like that. So I think shoe selection is kind of the biggest deal for me. Packing as lightly as possible, and really considering what you're going to be doing. I mean, in a lot of places, you can get by with, a bathing suit to cover up a couple of sundresses. For the guys, you don't need sports jackets typically. And in certain instances, when you do, a lot of times they're available locally. So just pack as light as possible based on the destination that you're going to be visiting. But yeah, the half rule is definitely a good one.
Incredible. I never thought about it that way. And I do generally tend to take my whole closet because I'm so excited.
Yeah.
And you just want to look your best and you want to sparkle and shine, but
you don't need it. And, the other thing too, to always remember is there is nothing there that you can't buy if you forgot.
My mom used to say that. Okay, it looks like I better take some money for the shopping.
It's very true. It's very, very true. There's nothing that you can't get.
To your point, though, I did get some, I don't know if they're called hiking shoes, but I did buy shoes with some good traction because we'll be doing a lot of rocky paths in Israel they don't have like smooth pavements where we're going. So I think that's an outstanding point that people need to consider wherever they're going.
Right.
Just have the right walking shoes.
Yes.
Okay, what about electronics and chargers and that kind of stuff?
So when you are looking at your electronics, there's always a tag either hanging on the cord or on the back of on your computer somewhere on the outlet cover. It's going to show the voltage. So you want to make sure it's a 110 to 220 or 240, 110 to 240. And if it is, then that means that it's going to be usable in a lot of places. Some things like hair products, like hair straighteners, curling irons, you don't need them anyway. But a lot of those are not compatible with overseas outlets. So when you're traveling, most of Europe has either the 2-prong, it's called a C outlet. So it's 2 circle prongs, and you can just buy an adapter. And there are international adapters that will work kind of across destinations in, multiple places. So something like that could be a good investment if you travel quite a bit. But it's just making sure that whatever electronics you're taking are compatible, which all phones, computers, and things, those would be. It's typically the smaller items, like hair items, which all the women are bringing, which I tell them not to. But I understand they're important.
Oh, just pull it back
exactly. Right, exactly. Or you know what? You can usually get a curling iron or a flat iron for like 20 euros somewhere else and leave it. So things are really easy to come across, and you don't necessarily need to go for shopping for supplies when you get there, but they're oftentimes pretty easy to gain access to along the course of wherever you're going anyway.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. One thing I like to do when I travel is I love to learn, not only from the people and the experiences I have, but by the tours. I love history. So when we were in Paris about 6 years ago, I should have called you. Next time I will. But we went to Paris, and we had this tour guide at the Louvre. And for us, it made all the difference because she pointed out things that I'm sure we would have missed, Mina. So what would you say about tours, guides, making sure I'm also a discerning critic when it comes to having a tour guide? I really want to know that they know what they're talking about.
A lot of destinations now, they have licensing programs. So when you have a licensed guide, typically you have to be licensed in order to enter national archaeological sites, museums, and things like that. So that is the case in France. It's the case in Greece. Croatia has licensing. Egypt is really strict with their licensing. And in order to get it, you have to have a background, either history, archaeology, or some kind of a function that's really specific to the sites that you're seeing. So checking the accreditation, I think, is really important when it comes to selecting your guides. It's also a good idea to avoid things like, the Viators and the TripAdvisors, because oftentimes they're people who you can't really qualify. You can't qualify who wrote reviews for them. You can't qualify if they're a right guide for you. So working with somebody who has a great team of guides locally is really going to help you to ensure that you're getting the right expertise for you and the right interests that you want to be covering. So that's, I think, my best recommendation when it comes to ensuring you've got good guides. And I would also say book early, because if you wait until you get there, you're going to get what's left, and the best guides will be booked, before you arrive.
Really helpful information. And I was going to ask you next about your agency and what you pride yourself on and what your agents pride themselves on as far as the services that you offer? Because a lot of people will say, oh, I can go online and do this by myself. For me, as I get older and I really, time is of the essence, I really want to pack a lot into a short amount of time if I've only got a short amount of time. So kind of share with us why Travelive stands out.
So, one of the things that we do is, I find a lot of clients that come and they say, oh, my friend stayed here. Or I saw this on TripAdvisor. And, the secret to that is that your friend went to one place. TripAdvisor reviewer went to one place. I have been to I've been to all the properties that we contract in most of our destinations. So, somebody who went to one and reviewed one hotel is completely different than somebody who's been to 30 hotels and stayed in 30 hotels and reviewed 30 hotels. And that's one of the things that we do annually. So I do have a team of about 40 now in Athens. We do inspect all of our properties on an annual basis. So, we really know what we're working with. And I think that knowing who the person is, where they're coming from, what their interests are, what their expectations are, really allows us to put the right person in the right hotel. And that's not something that your friends are going to do for you. It's not something that TripAdvisor is going to do for you. So it's completely different, having the expertise of somebody who has vetted their properties, who's vetted their guides, who has been working with the same drivers and guides for the past 20 years because I know that they're fabulous. And when we add new services or new guides or new hotels, we don't add them just because they're there. We add them because they go through a vetting process where we actually test them. We go on tours with them. If they're family tours, we get our kids and we go on tours together. We try properties. And a lot of times when we inspect properties, we'll take family members too. So my daughter used to be one of our best hotel inspectors, from when she was 6 years old. And, now we've got a new group of kids, that kind of come in and help us ensure that things are either family friendly or not. So, we've really gone the extra, not just mile, the extra many, many miles, to ensure that we know exactly what we're selling and why, you should be booking that. So I think that when you are working with a professional that really understands their destinations, that's the kind of expertise you're going to get. And it's going to go a lot further than just, I like this hotel because I met the manager somewhere. Or something like that.
Oh, you bring up a good point about families because my children are grown now, but can you give us tips about traveling with families?
So when you're traveling with families, I think that it's really important to ensure that everybody's needs are met. You don't want to be on a trip where the kids are happy and the parents are like, I'm happy that my kids are happy, but this is not what I would like to be doing. And you don't want the kids to be bored and just like, oh, get me out of here. This is awful. So, the goal is always to try to find solutions to make sure everybody is happy and engaged. And, we've been able to do that a lot of ways, which, could be scavenger hunts tend to be really fun for kids with, families with kids of different ages where, you get a story and with that story, you get some clues. So, an example is, we had a family come and it was the Persians have invaded Greece and taken the statue of the ancient Athena and broken her into pieces. And your job, family, is to collect those pieces. And you're going to do that by solving these riddles when you get clues along the course of your trip. So, having different hotels, tour guides, and people just present them with clues and then giving them the resources that they need to find the solutions to whatever challenge, problem, question that is so that they can kind of all work together. And it becomes a fun bonding experience for everyone, but it's also a contest. And who doesn't love winning, right? So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's fun, but it's also educational. Like, I bet those are the trips for kids that they remember the country. They remember something about the history of that country.
Exactly. Yes, we call it edutainment, and it tends to do really well with kids that are younger. With the teenagers, we'll do more things that are kind of like Instagram bingo or, do your TikTok dance at these sites. So, and, they're on their phone anyway. So it's a good way to engage them.
So something for every age. I love it. Okay, tell me a little bit about your co-founder because you're the president and it says co-founder. Is that a man from Greece?
It is a man from Greece. Yes, we still work really well together. We were married at one point, and we're amazing partners. So yeah.
I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. It's okay. No, it's.
Oh my gosh.
I married my business partner, and it's been an amazing partnership, and we have great kids together and a great business together. So it's really good. But
wonderful.
yeah, he's a good visionary mind, and I'm a good travel mind, and the two of us together make a really good team.
Great combination. Excellent. And your team, as you said previously, is growing by leaps and bounds. And do you want to share
Yes.
any of your aspirations for Travelive or anything that you're looking forward towards in the future?
I truly am in this because I believe in travel. I believe that travel connects humans. I believe it expands worlds. I believe it provides memories that, stay with you for your life. And I think that what we're doing is something that is very enriching in people's lives. So, my goal is to continue to grow this. I'd like to see new destinations. I'd like to see emerging destinations. And I like to see cultures and people united across borders. I think that that's what's, really going to make our world a better place. And especially now with so much divisiveness kind of all around. And, where so much has happened in the past couple of years, I think that that's something that we all need right now.
I couldn't agree more. Mina Agnos, you have been so informational, so much fun. You've made this something that we really should plan for in our lives. And one thing that I would say in my experience in my life is that don't wait. Like, just don't wait for the perfect time. Just come on, let's do this. It was actually my niece who came to me and she's like, do you think that I should go take this trip to see my grandparents? And I said, do you have the time right now? Do you have the 3 days that you could really, sneak away? Oh yeah, I think I could squeeze it in. Do it. Do it. And that's how I feel about travel.
Exactly. That's it. You don't get your time back. You can make more money. You can't make more time. So I agree 100% that now is the time. And especially, we've kind of seen what happened the last couple of years. Like, this is the time.
This is the time. So in conclusion, you've been just dynamite. Give us a way for folks to get in touch with you at Travelive so that hopefully they will reach out and plan the most memorable vacation.
Great. Well, online you can find us at Travelive.com, which is 1L, Travelive.com. And the email address is priority@Travelive.com.
You've been pure joy. I really appreciate it. Naisi Kala, Ola Kala.
Ola Kala, Pada Kala.
Pada Kala. And you have yourself a fabulous rest of the year.
Thank you so much, Kiki. You too.
Stay right there. Up next, your weekly takeaway to keep it all as well. Ola Kala.
This Ola Kala moment brought to you by the law offices of Liston and Centillus. Ranked number 1 by the leading lawyers network since 2010, taking care of all your real estate needs.
Something I learned about packing for a trip, which involves short stays and lots of movement from destination to destination, is organize your clothes with space bags. This is a genius idea. It's a big time saver, and the volume of your items can be reduced up to 75%. The bags are airtight, reusable, and protect clothes from moisture and odors. Bingo! Want to be Ola Kala with your wardrobe? Get organized with a very economical solution called space bags.
Kefi L is the founder of Kefi Life. She is passionate about whole person wellness and living a fulfilled life. Her Kefi Life podcast is created to simply and naturally help you harmonize the mind, body, and soul the Greek way. Visit KefiLife.com, at KefiLife365 on Instagram, and check out Kefi L on LinkedIn and on Twitter. Join us again next time for more positive energy and inspiration on Kefi Life.